All right, I will call this Tigard City Council meeting to order. City Recorder Krager, please call roll.
Council President Goodhouse.
Here.
Councilor Newton.
Here.
Councilor Lube.
Here.
Councilor Anderson.
Here.
Mayor Snyder.
I am here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, Youth Councilor Turley.
Oh. Thank you, Carol. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, council or staff, any non-agenda items?
Staff have none, Mr. Mayor.
All right, citizen communication, I have nobody signed up. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak who did not sign up?
Mr. Mayor, I have a follow-up to prior citizen communication.
Okay.
Council, you heard from the Pebble Creek community back on June 11th about some transportation and signage and parking issues, and I wanted to let you know that both our police department staff and our public works staff have been working with the Pebble Creek community about the concerns that they raised in their letter. On the police side, our staff conducted a speed study, and the recorded traffic has been traveling at or below the posted limit. So there's not anything on the speed sign except for neighborhood enforcement that will be done by way of follow-up. Both our public works and police staff suggested that we offer the 20 is plenty speed signs to the neighbors, and that has been done.
Okay.
And there was one other thing that I wanted to let you know about follow-up on that. Actually, it's the results of the speed study. So at the moment, police enforcement is the only follow-up in response to the Pebble Creek concerns.
And that information's all been circled back to the
Yes, it has.
folks that have raised the concerns?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Loop's closed there. All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is to consider a resolution approving appointments of the Tigard Library Board members and alternates. Library Director Bernard?
Good evening, everyone. You'll have to forgive me, this is the first time I'm doing this, so I'm not exactly sure what I should be doing. Hi. You want to come up here and sit with me? Yeah? I have the fire gun. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't have,
So you're asking and suggesting that we appoint Kate Ristow, Shirley Edwards, Gail Stevens, Alicia Turner, and Susan Sikora to the library board as both members and alternates. Is that correct?
I am.
Okay. Is there any council questions or a motion, excuse me?
I move to approve resolution number 19-30.
I second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to say Library Director Bernard and I were able to interview a lot of applicants for these positions. And I just want to thank all of them for those interviews. I think we walked away refreshed and excited at all of the ideas and how much people love our wonderful library. And I'm really excited to be able to see what the new board is going to tackle. And so thank you for all of your time and for your contributions that you're going to make.
All right, this resolution's been moved and seconded. City Recorder, please read the number and title of the resolution.
Resolution 19-30. A resolution appointing Shirley Edwards, Kate Ristow, and Christopher Allen to the Tigard Library Board for a term to 3rd, 2019 through June 30th, 2021, and appointing Gail Stevens as an alternate for a 2-year term effective July 23rd, 2019 through July 30th, 2021, and appointing Alicia Turner as an alternate for a one-year term, effective July 23rd, 2019 through June 30th, 2020.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Resolution 1930 is adopted unanimously, and I would like to issue a pin to everybody that has just been appointed, so I'll have you come up, and I'll come up in front. I was hoping to give a pin to our young participant tonight, too, but I see she's left the room, so I'll give you an extra. Sometimes I could use some help. All right, we are going to move on to item number 4. Consider a resolution concurring with Washington County findings regarding vacation of public slope easement in River Terrace. City Engineer Faya.
Green. We were talking about red earlier today, so totally confused. This is a resolution, you've seen several of these before, so it's probably not a big surprise, but it's, we're required to concur with Washington County when they vacate a section of street right-of-way or slope easements along streets to allow development to occur if the vacation is within the city limits of Tigard. So this is another one in River Terrace where it's some excess right-of-way area that Washington County no longer needs along Shoals Ferry and Roy Rogers. And this will become part of the River Terrace development. So the request is for council to approve this, concurring with Washington County on this matter.
All right, council questions? Or a
I
motion?
move to approve Resolution 19-31.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? City Recorder, please read the number and title of the resolution.
Resolution 19-31, a resolution concurring with Washington County findings regarding vacation of a public slope easement along Southwest Shoals Ferry Road and Southwest Roy Rogers Road.
All right, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Resolution 19-31 passes unanimously. Thank you, Lori. All right, next item is a legislative public hearing. Consider ordinance amending Tigard Municipal Code 7.48 Special Event Permit. I'm going to open the public hearing. Anyone that wants to offer testimony will be allowed to do so. There was a sign up at the back of the room, and no one has signed up. If you do wish to testify, we will get to that in a moment. City Attorney Rahala, staff report.
Good evening, Council. This is the product of several years' worth of work, actually. The process originally began with representatives from all city departments. The focus was on improving the application and the public experience for special events permits, which range from the balloon festival to block permits and everything in between. The city currently has multiple types of permits, different requirements for those, and there really hasn't been any consistency with how they've been dealt with, which has created problems for both city staff and also the public in navigating the system. So we really began with a process focusing on improving the application, using technology, and also making efficiencies for both the public and staff. So throughout this process, we realized that none of this could really happen without an appropriate legal framework to base this on. So our existing code in Tigard Municipal Code 7.48 currently only regulates public assemblies, and those are defined in code as gatherings of over 1,000 people for a period of more than 10 hours continuously, which means basically 0 events in the city of Tigard. So for all intents and purposes, we have no code that governs these right now. Additionally, nothing spoke to the logistics. So we didn't have any clear criteria for when we would issue, say, a street closure permit, what the party or applicant would have to show, what are the requirements for events in city parks. We really didn't have any framework on which to base these. So this led to internal inconsistencies, like I said earlier. That included inconsistencies in process requirements, and also we realized that some of the requirements were pieced together by departments, and we weren't following our own processes. So this really was not a good process. So the proposed code provides clarity about the standards for approving a permit, appropriate conditions that we can attach to these to make sure that the city and the public are protected, and also clarity as to what the application needs to include so that both public and staff are clear as to those expectations. So this is a significantly cleaned up code. It repeals and replaces the existing 7.48, which, like I said, is totally inapplicable for any event in Tigard so far. So for the next steps, after assuming council adopts this ordinance tonight, staff has a lot of work as to internal routing still, and also engaging with members of the public who are frequent applicants for these types of permits, making sure that the forms are consistent, making sure that we have something that's user-friendly to the public. We want to develop more outreach in terms of proactive pieces so that we can have something on our website about what people can expect when they're applying for these types of permits. Ideally, we're going to work towards a technological solution. We've talked with our IT department about a online form that can generate drop-down menus and make it a lot more streamlined. Also working to help route it internally with staff, make sure it makes it to the right departments, and then also making sure that it is then forwarded to both TVFNR and Washington County in the event of a street closure permit, because those are parties that need to know when a street's going to be closed. So you'll see on our in the ordinance in your packet, we have an effective date of October 1st. This will allow staff, we think, to make sure that we can accomplish all of those internal processes before we roll it out to the public. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I just want to be clear about whether, would we expect a group that was going to conduct an organized protest somewhere in the city to be using this chapter to request a permit to do so?
So that would depend on, it would depend on if they were going to be closing any streets. There are constitutional limitations as to what we can require in advance. So if it was a spontaneous group of people that gathered in a park to protest something, we might not necessarily be able to require a permit in advance of that. But if they were going to have a parade or a procession, occupying a right-of-way, that would be something that we would expect a permit.
I guess the reason I'm asking that question is that I could see situations where the, sort of in that vein, where maybe the $500 fine may not be enough to deter certain undesirable behavior or lack of permit getting, but I guess maybe we can talk about that in a bit. Council President Goodhouse?
So just a clarifying question. So if we approve this then tonight, then that allows you to start moving forward as far as what the new designs will look like. But then after that, it doesn't come back to us. It just goes into effect by October 1st, or do we get a second look?
Correct. No. So the October 1st, it's basically an ordinance is typically 30 days. This one is effective October 1st instead of 30 days.
Okay. I guess my only question is usually this comes together as a whole, so would there be any reason that we would want to or anything that would really be drastic? It sounds like there's going to be enough public feedback that hopefully it gets designed in such a fashion that...
Right. So to clarify, the code is not going to change. What will be developed in that time frame is the application form itself. So in terms of aesthetically, what does it look like from a design and communication standpoint? So the internal form, and then any public education on the website in terms of instructions for how to fill out the form or those kind of things. So the code, if council adopts it tonight, is in its final form, and then it would just be the internal implementation pieces from then on.
Would you see any existing activities that have been going on in Tigard change? I mean, if you get people that have done a small neighborhood parade or things like that, I mean, for a lot of the things that are happening, is it going to really be a drastic change, or is it going to be more of a formal process to fill out the application? And
National Night Out's a good example.
National Night Out or the Middle Millen Parade or things like that, where you get these kind of community things that come together, is that going to change those holistic events?
So the hope is that it changes it to, for the better, that it streamlines the process, that it makes the application form easier to fill out. There will be fewer questions to fill out. There will be, some questions will trigger other questions, like if an applicant says that they're going to provide alcohol, that would then lead to, is alcohol liability insurance required? Is OLCC license required? So there may be additional check boxes that come up as a result of that, but the base form of the application is going to be easier. There's going to be one form citywide, so there won't be any questions about, do I need a form from Public Works or do I need one from Police Department? Trying to eliminate that confusion between who's the appropriate department. So the hope is that for the better, it will change the process.
But in your description, there could be either fees or there could be required insurances on where someone, like on National Night Out, if somebody did have a couple beers there, but before they had that before, but now there could be requirements to get liability insurance and extra things.
So currently we do require liability insurance or alcohol insurance still. It's just that it's not administered uniformly between the departments, and so this codifies it more and also clarifies which department is responsible for it. Okay. So those base requirements are not changing, but it's more of our internal process in terms of how that is routed.
Okay, other questions of staff before we move to close the public hearing? Any questions? No. Okay, and I've asked once, but I'll ask again, is there any member of the public that wishes to testify? Okay, I see none. I take it there won't be any response to testimony by staff. I'm going to close the public hearing. Council discussion and consideration of ordinance number 19-11. Yes.
I just would like to make a comment. I really appreciate this because when I was working for the city, this process was very linear. People would come in and they want to close the street for a block party, and then we'd say, oh, and by the way, you have to do this now. So I think this will help people understand what they need to do up front, and I think it's going to be generally less frustrating for people, so I appreciate it. Thanks.
Other comments or a motion?
I move to approve ordinance 19-11.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. City Recorder, please read the number and title of the ordinance.
Ordinance number 19-11, an ordinance repealing and replacing Tigard Municipal Code, Chapter 7.48, related to special events permits.
City Recorder, please conduct a roll call vote.
Council President Goodhouse,
Yes.
Councilor Newton,
Yes.
Councilor Lube,
Yes.
Councilor Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Okay. Ordinance number 19-11 passes unanimously. Let's move on to item number 6, the legislative public hearing. Consider an ordinance amending Tigard Municipal Code 10.16.085 related to blocking streets. I'm going to open the public hearing. Hearing procedures, anyone that wants to offer testimony will be allowed to do so. There's a sign-up sheet at the back of the room, and do we have anyone signed up? I suspect no. City Attorney Rahala, staff report.
Thank you, Council. This and the next two ordinances stem from the previous ordinance relating to special events permits. In reviewing the code, there were some changes necessitated by that new change, this being one of them. Currently, our code has a blanket exemption to or prohibition to blocking a street or hindering traffic. So currently, it just says without proper authority, no person may block a street. That is unclear as to what constitutes proper authority. So in working with the police department, we have clarified, except as in an emergency or as authorized by state law or city ordinance, no person may block a street. This means that state statute will authorize police department to continue with community caretaking type situations, and also by city ordinance. So for example, a special events permit, or also a public facilities improvement permit to do work in the right-of-way. Those types of situations would allow somebody to block a street. So clarifying the authority to do so.
Okay, is there anyone that wants to offer public testimony? Nobody signed up. I see none. I will close the public hearing. Council discussion and consideration of ordinance number 19-12.
I move to approve ordinance number 19-12.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. City Recorder, please read the number and title of the ordinance.
Ordinance number 19-12, an ordinance amending Tigard Municipal Code 10.16.085 related to blocking streets.
City Recorder, please conduct a roll call vote.
Council President Goodhouse,
Yes.
Councilor Newton,
Yes.
Councilor Lube,
Yes.
Councilor Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Okay, ordinance 19-12 is adopted unanimously. Move on to item number 7, a legislative public hearing considering an ordinance amending Tigard Municipal Code 10.32 related to parade permits. I will open the public hearing. Anyone that wants to offer testimony will be allowed to do so. There's a sign up at the back of the room. City Attorney Rahala, staff report, please.
Thank you, Council. Another cleanup item. Currently, Tigard Municipal Code 10.32070 requires a permit from the Chief of Police for a parade on city streets. The police department is unaware of ever issuing a parade permit. This cleanup removes that special permit and will now allow a parade pursuant to a special events permit authorized under Tigard Municipal Code 7.48. So it makes parades consistent with other special events in the city.
Okay, no one signed up. Does anyone wish to testify who did not sign up? Okay, I will close the public hearing. Council discussion and consideration, ordinance number 19-13.
City Attorney, I just have a question. In the section 2, it says it's effective 30 days after the passage, but the original changes aren't happening until October 1st. Are there going to be any issues with the delay in the dates?
We don't anticipate any. Originally, the special events permit, we had hoped to have that effective 30 days, and then staff decided to kick that out. A parade permit, we've never had one issued, so we don't expect one to be issued in between September 1st and October 1st.
Okay.
Council President Goodhouse? Oh, okay. You do not have a question?
I think of a handful of parades anyways that happen, but
Apparently they've been unpermitted. Okay. Is there any further discussion or a motion?
I move to approve ordinance 19-13.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? City Recorder, please read the number and title of the ordinance.
Ordinance number 19-13, an ordinance amending Tigard Municipal Code 10.32 related to parade permits.
City Recorder, please conduct a roll call vote.
Yes.
Counselor Newton.
Yes.
Counselor Lube. Counselor Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to item number 8, a legislative public hearing. Consider an ordinance amending Tigard Municipal Code 10.36 related to riding on certain sidewalks and racing on public ways. This sounds exciting. All right, I will open the public hearing. Anyone that wishes to testify will be allowed to do so. There's a sign-up sheet at the back of the room. And nobody's signed up. City Attorney Rahala, staff report.
Thank you, Council. Our last cleanup item, we certainly saved the most exciting one for the end. This is a cleanup to 2 items in Tigard Municipal Code 10.36. The first provision, currently right now, code prohibits riding a bicycle on any sidewalk adjacent and parallel to Southwest Main Street. The conflict that this creates is that that is the only way to access the Heritage Street Trail for bicycles. So we currently, state statute does prohibit dangerous bicycle riding, which in talking with the police department, we think adequately addresses any safety concerns between conflicts between bicycles and pedestrians on the sidewalk. So the proposal in working with both Public Works and police is to just repeal that section in its entirety and rely on state statute. The second provision, police were unaware of any parade permit, and they had no idea that there was a bicycle racing permit that they were responsible for issuing. That is to say that police has never in the history that anyone could remember issued a bicycle racing permit, which code specifically calls out as something that someone needs to obtain from the police department in order to engage in bicycle racing on streets or in any public way. So consistent with the last ordinance, this would repeal that provision and instead authorize bicycle racing to occur pursuant to a special events permit under 7.48.
This makes me wish I'd called last week and asked for a bicycle racing permit. Okay. No one has signed up. Does anyone that's in the public want to testify? All right, I will close the public hearing. Council discussion and consideration of ordinance number 19-14.
I move to approve ordinance number 19-14.
Second that. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. City Recorder, please read the number and title of the ordinance.
Ordinance number 19-14, an ordinance amending Tigard Municipal Code 10.36 related to riding on certain sidewalks and racing on public ways.
City Recorder, roll call vote, please.
Council President Goodhouse.
Yes.
Counselor Newton.
Yes.
Counselor Lube. Counselor Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Okay, ordinance number 19-14 is adopted unanimously. We'll move on to item number 9, Local Contract Review Board. Consider contract award for the Tigard Street Heritage Trail construction. Mr. Barrett? Oh, and you've got extras with you. Excellent. Oh, wow. 4. This is excellent.
Gotcha. Thank you. So the contract before you tonight is for the construction portion of the Tiger Street Heritage Trail and the Rotary Plaza area. I wrote a lengthy AS on this one describing that their real issue with this one is some of the funding issues for it. Due to some funny little quirks to Oregon budget law, we weren't able to do a full carryover for the project. In addition, when this bid closed, the project came in over the engineer's estimate and the budget. So the real meat of this issue on the contract is going to be, we're going to ask council to award the contract tonight. There is funding appropriations through other projects available. However, the plan would be in the first quarter supplemental that's going to come before council either in late September or early October. We would come with some possible scenarios for award of additional funds for the project. Quickly capping, staff's recommendation will be that we tap unanticipated beginning fund balance in either Parks, STC, or Urban Renewal funds. Either that or a combination of reductions to Universal Plaza, Parkland acquisition, or various other projects would make up the rest of the funding for the project. Anything related to the process for the invitation to bid or some of the funding I can handle. Lori, Jeff, and Sean are here from a project, describing the project as well. So with that, we'll turn it over to council for any questions.
Well, just to clarify at the get-go here and to help frame, is, given what you just said, is there actually an intent to decrease the scope of the project from the initial bid that we asked for? I mean, and I'm not talking about in whatever the fiscal year, like what is reality? I mean, we have to follow budget law, but what the public cares about and what we care about is what gets done, so.
Right. So the project itself, just a little bit of background. So we've been working on this for a long time. It's been a priority for a long time. So it's the trail on the old railroad bed and the plaza, and it's putting those structural elements in place. That's what this construction contract would be for. The project, when it was bid, because it took quite a while to get design and particularly to get permits for the project, we knew that we might have some issues with budget on the project. So as you may recall, particular complexity is that the project itself is located on property that we lease from the railroad, and then it also has adjacency to active railroad tracks. And because of that, there's a lot of requirements that come from the railroads. The back and forth with the permitting process has taken a considerable amount of time, a lot more than we hoped it would. So we had to put the bid out a little bit later than we'd hoped to. Anticipating that the costs might come in a little bit high, we put together a bid package that had all of the elements that we wanted to see constructed, and then we also had some add alternate packages that said, well, okay, a little bit less and a little bit less. All of those came in over the budget to a certain degree or another. Staff discussed all of this, and really all of us in all of the departments want to see this complete project built, because the things that wouldn't get built if we approved a smaller construction contract would be some things that I think are pretty basic, like lighting and some basic landscaping elements that really are part of this being the full Heritage Trail and Plaza project. So that was when we took a look at the budget situation, determined that there are places where we can find the funding. We're hoping it will be out of unanticipated balance that will be available. If not, we think that taking some funds, at least in the interim, from some of the downtown projects that hopefully will get made up over time, and or from potential parkland acquisition projects would be the best way to complete this project at this time. If council could make a decision not to approve the contract, And if that were the case, we have a couple of issues with that. One is we could try to rebid later, and if we did so, there's no guarantee we'll get any better bids on this, and we may not get any bids at all. We only received one bid. The other situation is that we have funding sources. This project has a lot of funding cobbled together, not only from city sources, but from grant funds. So grants from the state. We have some federal art grant funding. We have some Washington County funding. Some of those have date limitations on them, and if we push this project any further, we may lose some of those funding sources. So hopefully that gives some background and maybe answered your question.
Yeah, no, I mean, what I'm getting out of that is the intent is to build the whole project, but it's not completely appropriated, but staff is going to be recommending in the future an appropriation that allows that to happen. Is that a good summary? Okay, council questions or comments? Councilor Newton.
Just so I'm clear, approving the contract and going forward tonight doesn't necessarily tie us to one of the funding options, correct? So we're just deciding we're going to go forward with the project, and then we'll address that when we get down the road. Is that correct?
I think what it does imply is that acknowledgement that the Q1 budget appropriation request will include something to
Right.
Formalize
Address
that
this.
funding.
But we'll have an opportunity to discuss whether, I'm a little bit concerned about reducing some of the parks projects, so we would have an opportunity to discuss that down the road. We don't need to talk about that now. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
Okay.
Actually, there'll be a subsequent component to the project as well coming before council in about 3 weeks, the purchase of the actual restroom that'll go into Rotary Plaza. So there'll be more opportunities for council to discuss what we're doing.
Okay.
before we do that.
Okay, thank you.
Council President Goodhouse.
I'm in support of the project. The only way I'd like to see, and as what the staff recommended, would be option number one. I wouldn't want to see, similar to Councilor Newton said, I wouldn't want to see any of the projects. I definitely don't want to see any reduction in the Universal Plaza. So the only one I would go with moving forward would be the number one option for finding funding on this. I don't want to see other projects being pulled away from.
So specifically, you're saying urban renewal?
The urban renewal or the unappropriated SDC fund.
Okay. Councilor Anderson. Oh, sorry.
It's preliminary with the close of FY19. We don't have any full true ending fund balance. There is the potential there will not be unanticipated beginning fund balance to cover this. So if council does choose to award this tonight, there is a chance that some of these projects will have to be slowed in the very least to make up for the funding if there is not unanticipated beginning fund balance.
What is to clarify, what is the gap we're looking at?
238,000.
Okay. Okay.
Councilor Anderson.
So if we award this tonight, when would Lee Contractors begin?
Well, Mickey, we'd like to get them going in the next couple of weeks.
Wow, good. So they get some good progress before the rains come and start again in the spring?
Well, we'd like to get them done before the end of the year, actually, the end of December. Or actually, October is what we're shooting for the end of October at this time, so we can move on to installations and that.
Great.
Councilor Lube.
I really hesitate. It's a big chunk of change to not know where it's going to come from and to sort of hope that there's going to be the fund balance in there. And so I really struggle with being able to approve something with such a dollar shortfall. And so I'm struggling with it. I understand needing to approve it and getting it going and all of those things. But to be honest, it's a big gap to hope to fill without the information, and which is nobody's fault. It's the accounting process. It's very cumbersome. So that's just my comment.
Yeah. I mean, that's certainly it's certainly a concern. This is a high priority project that we've put a bunch of effort into, and we've got a lot of grant money that's basically not our money tied up in this. And if we choose to not proceed, then some of that or all of it could go away. And I don't really want to lose that. With that said, how confident are staff that they can figure something out that is not going to threaten other parks and also not create the kind of pinch that Councilor Lube's talking about?
To be honest, I don't even want to speculate how certain we are with the close still a solid 3 weeks away. That we just don't know. There are other projects other than Universal we could hit. We could also look at other than parkland acquisition, other parks SDC funding that may be available. Part of the problem that also exasperates this one is there were some changes to Oregon budget law that we made this year that wouldn't allow for contingency in some of these funds. If they didn't have an operating, line item, we couldn't put contingency in. So there may be reserve for future expenditures we could tap into, but I'd have to check with the finance staff before I would, commit to that as well.
What about loaning money to the Urban Renewal Fund? Has that been discussed?
It hasn't been discussed for this particular project, but we have done that in the past.
Okay, so that would be a consideration.
Yeah, the City Center Urban Renewal District is going to be going up for a borrowing by the end of August, so there could be some additional funds available there.
Okay.
Borrowing more than in this current fiscal year's budget.
Council President Goodhouse.
You just answered my question. I was going to say that since we have the credit limit, we're going out for looking for that. We could tack that on there, and then almost at the line items where if there is that urban renewal money that's left over in those years, use that to pay that loan back. I think that would be probably one of the ideal things. We're already going to look at with that line of credit. We have a couple other items we're borrowing on to use that for the those end-year balances that we can use to pay that loan back.
So I hear the staff sort of making a recommendation that we make a prudent decision. This is my interpretation of this. A prudent decision that's maybe a little bit of a leap of faith, but not based, it's based in reality. It isn't quite figured out. Is that an accurate portrayal? Okay. Other questions or comments? Councilor Turley, you've been quiet. You got any? Okay. Others? Anything? Okay, is there a motion?
I make a motion to award the contract for construction of the Tigard Street Heritage Trail.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Councilor Newton?
Yeah, I'm mindful of the grants and everything, and the sort of way this is cobbled together, and I don't want to lose that opportunity. So, and I'm very supportive of the project. I would just ask when we come back with the Q1 supplemental that you do a really robust dive into what our options are, because that would really be helpful. I'm really supportive, and I know we're kind of in a sticky situation, but if we could have a pretty robust dive on what our options are.
You want options?
Yeah, that would just be helpful, just so we can kind of pick the most prudent, course. So
The
thank you.
staff amenable to that?
Thanks.
All right, so it's been moved, and we did have a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And staff, thank you. This has been a long time coming, huge amount of work, going to be transformative for downtown. Thank you.
Very excited.
Glad to see it starting soon.
Yeah, Jeff, that was the most exciting news to me, is like a couple weeks, done by December? Or done by October? That's the hope.
We'll have our fifth Tuesday in October then.
Apparently. Okay, I see, do we have any non-agenda items? I didn't see any earlier. We have no executive session scheduled. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you.
8:15. Nicely done.
Megan, thank you.
Which kind of is no big deal, but at the same time, it really is. It's definitely, so when I pay my tax bill, $4 of my dollars, and do you mind taking it in there? Right. There are. But anyway, I think we'll be able to. I simply, yes, just a little bit and stuff, I just also like to. But it's also, so because of my class and stuff, I understand so much more of like the balances and things like that, where I'm like, yeah, I totally get it. Also, government accounting is class. Really? So government accounting is not something that I know a lot about. It's just so varied about that, if you haven't already. I haven't, I have to tell you different. I get so upset. I'm like, really? Nobody wants to talk about it? But bike races, we don't have rallies. I've never seen a rally be publicized for this happening at Tigard. Not an actual rally? Yeah. Yeah, so it's just, it's very cumbersome. So essentially with accounting, like there's 3 sets of books. There's the budget, the income rentals, and then the actual. Well, it's not like that. So it's just very risky. And then like everything at the end of the year is completely undone. Yes. And then, and you have to recreate. I'm like, no wonder there's 1,000 staff members, like in the finance department. Finance department.